Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today is Tuesday, August 19th, which means we are officially 1 week into the school year. So today, I'm gonna take you along with me and I'm really gonna focus on showing you ways, I laugh, and if you have followed me for a while, you're gonna laugh too, ways that I am simplifying things this year. And the reason you might laugh is because anyone who knows me knows that I'm very over the top. I like to go above and beyond in things, but I'm also trying to find ways to just have systems that are kind of plug and play, make my life easier. It's been a very hectic and busy start to the school year, and so now that I'm settling into a routine, I wanna make sure I'm settling into a routine that's sustainable and that will be easy. So I'm gonna talk about some of those things that I am doing. Speaking of routine, for me personally, I feel like one of the ways I know that I have settled into a routine at the start of the school year is when my backpack is finally not so heavy. I feel like I have so many things in my backpack at the beginning of the year that I'm carrying back and forth.
I don't walk into your house and steal your Hello Kitty backpack.
This case comes with me back and forth to school every day. It's just full of like papers and things that I might need at home, but also might need at school. However, the main bulk of my backpack is fairly empty. I have been bringing a blender bottle every day because midday, I just need like something that's not water, and so I'll put like a flavored drink packet in there. And then the only other thing in my backpack are some dry erase boards that were gifted from Rebecca. Shout out to Rebecca, thank you so much, from my Amazon wish list. And I'm excited because I really like these kind of thinner dry erase markers for math problems. And Amazon has changed the way that like your wish list works. And you used to be able to like send a thank you note, and now when you get an item, like you don't have the option to send a thank you note. So thank you, Rebecca. And just know if I ever don't reach out to you, it's because I don't really have a way. Like it will show me the message from the person, but it doesn't allow me to be able to actually send a thank you. So I'm gonna have to do a video here soon where I go through like my lunches, what I'm meal prepping to make my life easier. That won't be the focus of this video, but if it's something y'all are interested in, I can do it. This week, every single day, I just have broccoli, ground turkey, and then a sweet chili sauce. I know it's lame and it's not super exciting, but it's easy. I just pour frozen broccoli in the container, cook the ground turkey, put it on top with the sauce. So it's not the most exciting meal, but it tastes good, and it also helps me reach my fitness goals because I am competing at the Olympia, which is my next powerlifting meet in October. So I've got to kind of be on track. I'm all unpacked. Let me sit down so we can kind of chat about some of the things we're going to go over in this video. Also, before I sit down, I meant to do this while I was still standing, but I forgot. Back to school brain. This, I know I showed it in one other vlog, but in case you missed it, this is our team shirt for the year. Every year, each team of teachers will get like matching shirts, and we typically wear them on Tuesdays. So it just says 4th grade, and then we were able to personalize it with our name. And then on the back, it has 4th grade, super cute. You can choose from a variety of colors. I will link it for you. We got it from Etsy. My mouth is moving faster than my brain. My brain is obviously not moving fast enough. These are the moments I have to just laugh at myself. So the theme of today's video is simplification. Things that I'm doing just a little bit differently this year, not an entirely new system, just tweaks on last year's system to make my life easier. At least that is the goal. That's always the goal. So I'm gonna go through 3 kind of categories or things that I thought of, because last night, actually, I was watching Top Chef. That's been my latest obsession. And one of the chefs was talking about simplifying her dishes and not necessarily making them like boring, but just simplifying the ingredients. I was like, you know what? That's kind of what I've been trying to do in my classroom. So that's where the inspiration came from. But we're gonna chat about my daily slides because those have gotten a little bit of an overhaul and I am loving it, I'm obsessed. We're gonna talk about math and science notes, and then we're gonna talk about just general consistency and ways that I'm making it easier for myself to be consistent. So let's jump into some slides. Again, if you have been following me for a while, you know that I teach by slides, always, all the time. It's just part of what makes it easier for me to know where the lesson is going, because sometimes my brain just doesn't get there along the way. And last year, I had a set of what I called like weekly slides or daily slides that I would use throughout the week for our morning meeting, for transitioning between classes. And I would make a copy of the template every week, and I would go in and I would change the slides. This year, rather than making a copy of the template every week, I'm literally just going to reuse the same slides week after week, because I've realized, even though the idea of going back and being able to look at my slides from last year, it was good in theory, but it's not really that practical because things don't always align to the same weeks. And honestly, it's just easier for me to kind of make it as I go. So I'm gonna show you an example set of what my current daily slides look like and kind of how I'm using them, how I'm making them more functional for me. This is the first slide. This is the slide that I have on the board displayed as my students are coming in the morning. So all I do is I change the date up at the top, and then I'll put some kind of quick little message. So like yesterday it said, "Happy Monday, I missed you so much over the weekend. Today is National Potato Day." So I put that in there because why not? And then you'll notice on the side, I put some kind of like SEL connection or like a funny meme that I found. I get these all from First Five from Ed Tomorrow. Y'all know I'm a huge fan of them. You can sign up and receive a daily free email right in your email inbox, and they will send you these types of images. So I just inserted this from there. I will link it if you're not familiar, but it says, which potato matches your mood today? And then I also put a joke of the day. What do you call a fake potato? It's an imitator.
Office funny guy.
So I have that on the side, something different every day. So I do change that out, but it takes mere seconds. Then a majority of the directions stay the same. So for example, greet Mrs. Emerson, hang your backpack under your cubby, put your snack in your cubby so it's easy to grab. I list out what they need for the day, and you'll notice I have these little emojis. I use a Chrome extension. I forget, I think it's called Joy Lab, but I will link it for you. I'm sure there are other ways. I know there are ways to insert it through like symbols. I just have used the Chrome extension for so long, it's really easy for me to go in and grab it from there. But I like having the little visual with it. Sharpen your pencils or use the bathroom, work on your science assignment and turn it in. Those types of directions would change depending on what it is that we've been working on. If you're done, you can work on your All About Me slide, your math number that was from like the second or third day of school, your I Spy, class word search, or read a book from the class library, and then when the bell rings, voices go off. Now, a couple other things I want to point out. First, up at the top corner, it's super tiny, but I actually have a little YouTube video right here that is inserted. So when I present this, it actually plays background music. Our school theme this year is like a Disney theme, so it's just instrumental Disney music. The other thing that you're gonna notice on every slide are these little buttons down at the bottom. These are literally just rectangles with text in them, but I have linked them to other slides. Now, in order to do that, you just create the rectangle, and then if you select the rectangle like this, you can right click, choose link, or you can use shortcuts on your keyboard. I believe on a PC it's Control K, and then on a Mac it's Command K. That will open up the link, little dialogue, but from there you just type in the slide number, click it, and then when you are in present mode, you can use those to navigate to the different pages. So I have a little button for every single slide. So no matter what slide I'm on, I can easily jump to another slide if needed. The next slide is morning meeting. So this would be after the bell rings, all the things that I need to go over with my class, that I need to talk about. And I used to have these kind of customized for each day of the week because there are different things I have to remind them. For example, on Wednesdays, I have to remind them, hey, turn in your Tuesday folder. But rather than having like a separate one for each day, I've decided just to have one, and then I can just update the things to discuss and put it in there. So the things that will always stay on this slide, up at the top, I will display whoever is the Golden Emerson for the week. I put their name. The little home icon that you see actually links to where we submit our house points. We'll come back to that because I'm going to talk about that when it comes to consistency. And then I have some more buttons. The first one links to our announcements. Our morning announcements are housed in a Google Drive folder. So rather than, I used to insert the video into my slides every day, which I could still do, but it's a little bit more work. And even though it only takes a few seconds, day after day, that adds up. So now that button just links to the Google Drive folder, and then I can just click the video that I need for that day. Similarly, the next button links to our lunch count. I used to have a separate button for each day that would go to that specific part of the spreadsheet, and now I'm like, no, it's fine. One button will do, and I will just then click where I need to go on the spreadsheet. I list out things to discuss. So the first couple will always stay the same. I will list whatever special we have. We do not have art today. I'm just making this up. This is all fake information. Schedule changes. I would put things like we have makerspace today. Again, we don't have makerspace yet, but if that were a schedule change, I would just list it in there. Whereas my old slides, if you remember those, I actually had like a listed schedule on the side, and I would update it with the specific times, and that got very time consuming. So I'd rather just list out like, hey, here's what's different today. I will put any reminders, so it could be like homework or things that they need to turn in. Next, I will list out something about study hall. So study hall is actually gonna start this week, and if there are certain assignments where it's like, hey, if you don't have this done, it's gonna be done during study hall, I will list those there. Then I list things going on throughout the week. So for example, Wednesday, we have class pictures. Thursday is Billy's birthday. Billy is my husband, and no, it's not his birthday on Thursday. It's just an example. Friday, you're getting new Chromebooks distributed. Friday is also our house sorting for new students, so you need to wear your house colors. I put those little reminders in there. And again, I put emojis that kind of match just to help with some of my more visual students. Then on the side, because I am now condensing this into a single slide, I wanted to have a button for each day of the week based on the activity we do that morning. So I like to get into a routine, and we'll come back to this when I talk about consistency, but doing the same thing on every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, as much as possible. There will be some deviation, but as much as possible. So I've linked out the activities for each day of the week. So for example, Monday is when we do our second step lesson. Now, we don't have the links to that yet, but once we do, I will actually link those little icons. Tuesdays, I like to do Estimation 180. So this is a website, and every day out of 180 days, there are pictures, and students have to estimate things. Like, it could be a jar of cheese puffs, and they have to guess how many cheese puffs are in there. And so it's a great way to incorporate math skills, but have it be real life, and it's engaging for students. So they really look forward to those. Wednesdays, I like to do the mystery science mini lesson for the week, because those are always super, super interesting. My students love them. Thursdays, we will do the brain games from Ed Tomorrow. Those are part of the first 5, but the brain games are like these interactive kind of matching activities or like speed challenges that you can do as a class. And then Friday is our Golden Emerson Award. So again, each of these are linked to that website. So all I have to do is click it, and it will take me right there. Next is my Get Ready for Math slide. So as we transition from our SEL or social emotional learning time into math, this is the slide that I would put up. So it lists out the materials that students need along with visuals. And what I have done is I've actually grouped these together. So for example, this is a text box. It is a picture of the composition book. I added the little pink piece on the side so they know it's the one with the pink tape. I've got the text box that says pink tape, and then I've got the arrow. Rather than having them all be separate, I have grouped them together. So if you click, you'll notice it actually selects all of them. So in order to group things on Google Slides, just with your mouse, you can kind of click and drag. It will select the things, and then you just right click and you choose group. But that way, if it's like, hey, we don't need our practice book today, I can just click, and then I can actually just use my down arrows to move it off of the slide. Now, I'm gonna move it back up because I do wanna show you underneath some of the things that I have. These are materials that we're not necessarily using today, but might use in the future. So for example, the Succeed book from Bluebonnet, which is our math curriculum. Our dry erase pocket, protractors, rulers, I already have those inserted, but they're off the slide, so when I'm presenting it, you don't see it. But when I'm preparing these, if we need those materials that day, I can just move it up onto the slide. Then I have a little reminder about turning in math homework, and again, it's color-coded. Next would be our Math Flex slide. So when we move into Math Flex time, this lets my students know what they need to do. And almost every day it's gonna look the same. They're gonna have an exit ticket, so all I have to do is pop the page number in there, and I have it highlighted. tell them to tear it out, bring it to the back table, work on their iReady minutes, and I would update how many they need by that day to move to the may do side. Because for example, on Mondays, it's like, hey, as long as you have 15 minutes and you've passed a lesson, you can head over to may do. I've listed out their options. Right now, their only option for like Math Flex would be Multiplication War, because I'm slowly teaching them our different games, but I would update that throughout the year. And then a little note that if I call you to the back table, just bring a pencil. Now, I do have a separate one for Fridays, only because on Fridays, they would need to bring me their notebook so I can sign off on their minutes. We'll talk about that in a future vlog. And then I also allow them some more fun activities on Fridays if they are on May Due. Then transitioning to specials, this would be a slide I would put up, and it's letting them know, hey, before you get into line, here are the things you need to do, and I've highlighted it in yellow. A reminder to use the bathroom, fill up your water bottle, and then when they come back in, I don't need to change the slide because it's all in one place. I can leave the same slide up, and they already have directions for what to do when they come back for specials. That was a game changer for me this year. I don't know why I didn't do that sooner. Then the get ready for science slide. Similarly, I have listed out their materials. Typically, they don't need as much for science. It's really just, hey, do you need your Chromebook today or not? So I can either move it off of the slide or keep it there. Similarly, for getting ready for social studies, I've listed out those materials with pictures. A get ready for lunch slide, and once again, I've given them directions, I've highlighted it of what they need to do. And then when we come back in from lunch, I've let them know, hey, if you're in my homeroom, you need to drop off your lunch, grab your switch bag, get ready to go to my team teacher's room. Again, her name is not Mrs. Switch, that's just an example. And then this same slide stays up as my switch class starts to come in. So it has the directions for both classes, lets them know what they need to do. Similarly for recess, like here's what you need to do when we're leaving, here's what you need to do when we come back. And then getting ready to switch back and pack up. Once again, I have it for both classes. I've highlighted the most important parts. And then we would get into dismissal. And at this point, my students know their dismissal, so I won't necessarily display this slide every single day, but it is nice to have there. It just lets them know, hey, when the first bell rings, these are the students that are dismissed. Here's the teacher you're going to. Here's what that sign looks like. And then when the second bell rings, same thing. Now, I know I'm gonna get asked about these. I used my Bright Slides templates, which are in my TPT store, to create all of these. I do not have these specific slides available, like already made, because they are made custom for me and my teaching style and my teaching environment. However, the overall look and the different layouts, all of that comes from my Bright Slide template. So I will link that if you are interested. Also, a few ways I'm making it really easy for myself to access these. I am actually keeping them right in the main part of my Google Drive. Usually my rule is everything goes in a folder, but because I'm using these every single day, I actually have them sitting in my Google Drive just down at the bottom. So I have all my folders and then this one file, but I also have it bookmarked in my bookmark bar. So it's nice and easy for me to click on no matter what tab I'm in, even if I'm not in Google Drive, I can just click it and it will open it up. But I also have it in the starred section of my Google Drive. So it's all the places and it just makes it that much easier to pull it up when I need it. Next, I wanted to talk about math and science notes. My students have a math notebook and a science notebook. They're composition notebooks. They stay in their cubby bin and we use it to take notes during class. Last year, I actually gave them pre-filled out math notes that were really just a reference. And I felt like my students didn't utilize them as much because they didn't play a role in creating them. And then for science, we were creating the notes from scratch in our notebooks and it was very time consuming. So one thing I did over this summer that my past self is now being thanked by my future self for is I created notes templates. So within my math notebook, if you open it up, you'll notice I have a table of contents. From there, I did give them some reference sheets. So for example, our problem solving process, addition and subtraction, multiplication, division, fraction, geometry, and money. These we just glued in at the beginning of the year because I wanted my students to have them. But for their actual notes, rather than being like just a printed version where it's all filled in, they are filling in the blanks. Now in mine, I pasted in the one that is already filled in, but my students are actually filling in like these place value headings and these blanks. This was all something that we did together as a class. And also you'll notice at the beginning of the year, I had my students numbered their pages so that they're all ready for the whole year. But this is the math one. Now, I do not have these exact ones available yet. I do have my math notes and anchor charts product in my TPT store. It is similar, but it is not fill in the blank. At some point, I am gonna update it with the fill in the blank ones, but that point is not right now because I'm still in back to school survival mode. However, in our science notebooks, how cute is this sticker? My students are loving the stickers, by the way. In our science notebooks, we also have a table of contents. We have some reference pages like our CER, and then we have our investigation sheets that students fill out and our note sheets. These I created to align with the McGraw-Hill Science specifically for Texas. If you teach 4th grade McGraw-Hill Science in Texas, send me an email and I will send these to you as a template, the notes pages, not necessarily the investigation sheets because they're different, but these I actually have not only like the notes that we fill out, but I have a digital version. So let me kind of show you briefly what it would look like in my slide. So for science, I would start with the objective. And let's say this day we're doing an investigation sheet. I let them know to glue in the paper. And we actually have these videos from McGraw-Hill that kind of go through like making a prediction and all that. So I have inserted the video right on the slide. And then these, like the prediction, they're kind of doing on their own, but I'm giving them a sentence stem for it. And then I actually just took screenshots of like that chart that was on there, and we would go over their observations as a class, as well as those questions at the end. So I'm not necessarily filling this out in my notebook, but we are going over these parts as a class. Now for these notes, let me show you what that would look like, because this is my little hack and I'm so proud of myself for figuring this out. So on the next day, if we're gonna take notes, I will give them the paper to glue into their notebook. I remind them anything that they see in red needs to be copied in their notes, and they can move closer if they need to. So when you click and you go to the notebook, I have kind of altered the link so that it goes into present mode. What that means is I've animated the different parts of the notes to appear as I click. And so I can in real time, as we're reading in the book, because usually we would open up our textbook, so like this, let's open up to page 12, we're gonna read, and as we're reading, I would actually create a split screen. So I'd have the textbook on one side and then those notes on the other. Now, in terms of getting this link, let me open up and just kind of show you all. So this link, it originally started like this. Let me go back to what it was. So, okay. So this is the normal Google Slides, and this is the file. So I have like the blank note sheet, and then I have the one that's all filled out, and it's animated so the text appears. If I want it to go in that full screen mode where I can click and it will basically, you know, have the different parts of the notes appear in the URL, and this URL is super intimidating because there's all these letters and numbers and symbols, but look for, after it says docs.google.com/presentation/d/ a bunch of random stuff, and then there's this other slash and it will say edit ? You're gonna take the word edit, you're gonna backspace, so keep the question mark, keep the slash, but in between those, you're gonna type the word present. Then when you hit enter, whatever slide you're currently on, it's gonna go into full screen present mode with that slide, and then you can just click and go through the notes. I'm so excited, I love it so much. The best part of this is, as I'm making these slides, let's say the next day we're gonna be doing the next set of notes, which is gonna be models and visuals. From here, once I get to the slide where it's like, all right, this is gonna be where we take notes, I can then just copy this URL and pop it into my slides. So I don't have to go in and like edit the URL each time. I just bring up the previous set of notes, click forward a few times, and then copy in the new link and put it in. Hopefully that makes sense. But I have built the routine with my students, so when we open up our science notebook, they know exactly where things go. I like the investigation sheet on the left side, the notes that kind of go with it on the right side, And then you'll notice because I have that pre-filled in sheet, now it's in red, but I just print it in black and white, I can print copies of the notes that are already filled in. So that means for my notebook, I can print ones that are already filled in so that I can focus on teaching rather than filling it in on my notes under the document camera. It's already done. But I can also print copies of this for students who are absent, or if I have students with accommodations for filled out notes or students that I know kind of maybe struggle to keep up, I have these printed copies that I can give them, and either they can glue it right in, I could have them start filling it in and then glue in the one over top so that they have it, or I can just give them like a loose version of this to take back to their seat to be able to fill it in, or if they struggle to see the board. So there's many options. Plus, because I have these notes digitally with our notebook, this is something that I can also link on our Google Classroom, so that way my students have access to their notes from home without taking their notebooks home. Again, the theme is simplify, and I know some people are probably like, that doesn't sound simple.
Just keep it simple. Keeping it simple, that's what we're doing.
I probably just didn't explain it right, but because I put in the work over the summer to develop these note sheets, yes, it was a lot to start with, but now, like week to week, it's very, very simple. And my students will know the routine, and it just makes my life easier. So even if it seems still over the top, I promise, it has simplified things, at least for me and my teaching style. And that brings me to the last part, which is consistency. You may notice between my math and science notebook, there is a lot of consistency, a lot of things that are the same. For example, the table of contents page for them looks basically the same. The pages are numbered the same. The kind of layout where they have these reference sheets at the beginning is the same. The way that we actually fill in the note sheets, they look very, very similar, so my students are familiar with the process. And then having the links to the digital version where it will start filling it in, I do the exact same thing with math that I did with science. Similarly, our word walls. Now last year, I used a science word wall all year. This year, I've also added a math word wall, and that is new, but you'll notice it looks basically the same as the science. Now, we have not filled stuff in because I'm still getting my life together, but I have the kind of chapter or module headings. I have headings for each different part. So like right now we're focused on place value. And then I have the pink word cards, and those let me know the words that we are focusing on and the words that I need to fill in on the word wall. These are all just printed on cardstock, laminated, and then I have magnetic buttons on the back. I use magnetic buttons from Walmart. But over the summer, I already prepped all of those word wall cards. So I don't need to worry about it from week to week. They're already done. I also have here some example ones. So if I'm gonna use an example, I can just pop that in there. And then also over here by science, I have like fun fact. I feel like there's more fun facts in science than math. I also have similar example cards, and then I have ones for investigation to be able to build the science word wall. And then in terms of storing them, I have these rainbow drawers. So for science, this has all of our questions and the word wall cards for the first and second chapter. And then for math, similarly, they're all in here ready to go. So when we start a new chapter, I just have to grab them out and put them on the board. And it's worth noting, these are things that, yes, make my life easier as a teacher, but it also makes it easier for my students when there is consistency, because when they learn how to use and read the word wall, having it be the same for science and math, or at least very similar, science might look a little different. You know, we did a laser pointer investigation yesterday, and I'm probably gonna tape the laser pointer up on the wall. There's not gonna be as much of that in math, but the general organization of it will be the same, and it makes it easier for my students to follow. And then also on the note of math and science, this year for Google Classroom, I created just one science Google Classroom and one math Google Classroom. Even though I teach two different groups of students for math and science, I created just one Google Classroom, and I have all of my students from both classes in there. For me personally, I feel like that will make my life easier, because last year I found it very confusing having two different classes, trying to make sure that I scheduled the assignments in both. And because I don't do a lot of grading in Google Classroom, I don't necessarily need the classes to be separate for like grading purposes. And so for me to have one spot where then I can just drop in classwork. So for example, we're doing some digital inquiries. I can just have it all in one place. All of my students have access to it, and I feel like it just has made things much easier. Now, going back to those daily slides for my morning meeting, you noticed I also have consistency with what activity we're doing based on the day of the week. So every Monday, we're doing second step. Every Tuesday, we're doing estimation 180. Every Wednesday, we're doing the mystery science mini lesson. Every Thursday, brain games, and every Friday, the Golden Emerson. Again, it may shift some, which is fine, but I don't have to spend time day after day trying to go, well, what activity are we gonna do tomorrow? And like trying to find something. It just takes away some of that decision fatigue because I am predetermining a schedule and I'm following it and I have it set up with links. So all I have to do is click and go on with it. And it just makes it much easier rather than trying to like re-link things every single day and come up with new ideas. Really, I feel like simplifying is just trying to make it so you have to make less decisions. At least for me, that's very helpful. I also feel like it means designing your space in a way that's gonna be conducive to you and your style. So I've talked before about how we have houses at our school, kind of like Harry Potter, or if you're familiar with Ron Clark Academy, our students belong to houses and they have the opportunity to earn house points for positive behavior.
Not my fault. I was exposed to Harry Potter.
Last year, I had this printed out, this little dry erase pocket where I could keep track of house points, but it was in the back of the room and it was by my sink. I never used it because it was not in a place where I saw it. It wasn't visual to me, therefore I forgot, and I just never used it. And as a result, I didn't give as many house points last year as what I wanted to. So a change I made this year is I just moved that dry erase pocket to the front of the room. That way I can see it, my students can see it, and my students have easy access to it. So I can give house points, or if we're in the hallway and I'm like, hey, you get a house point. What house are you in? Oh, you're in quantum. Great. When we get back to the room, give quantum a point. They can come up, they can grab the dry erase marker. I used one with like a little magnet, so it sits right here. They can give themselves a house point. What's great about this is it's also right there so that in the morning when I'm doing morning meeting and I'm standing up here by my board, I mentioned that little house icon on the daily slides. If I click that, it takes me to a Google form where we keep track of house points. So we submit house points so that they can update it on like our morning announcements. And that way it's right here. I can easily see how many points to give. And I have that trigger on the slide to remind me to do it. Last year, my goal was at the end of each day, I would submit the form and give house points, but we all know how that goes. I almost never did it because I would forget. So now having it as part of the morning meeting and submitting the points from the day before, I feel like works much better. And then it kind of gives me a chance as I erase it to go, all right, let's, today, here's our goal, here's what I'm really looking for, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like that was a lot, but part of why I record these vlogs is to share ideas, because even though my ideas are nothing revolutionary, I feel like sometimes it's the little things that can make a big difference. And so when I discover these little things, I'm like, let me just share them in case they're helpful for someone else, or you can take that idea and like tweak it and mold it to work for you. But also it kind of becomes like a digital diary for myself to look back on. And I like being able to see like year to year the growth that I'm making and the changes and how it has impacted my overall teaching in my classroom and our school community, like all of those things. So a couple just last little notes of things that I am doing to kind of help with this simplification. Y'all know I have alarms going off on my phone all day. My students always laugh because I love the duck sound, but I need to set some more recurring tasks on my to-do list. The alarms are helpful day to day, so I know when to transition to specials, when to go to lunch, all of that, but I am already realizing, like last Friday, I needed to send out my weekly newsletter and I kind of forgot until it was like an hour before the end of the day, and I was like, I need to schedule that. So I use Google Tasks to be able to organize my to-do list, and within Google Tasks, you can set a task to be recurring on a specific day and a specific time. And so I need to set up some of those for this year. Let me quickly show you what I mean. So this is the Google Tasks app, but you can also access this in your sidebar within Google. So if you're in like Gmail or Google Drive or Google Slides, you can access this on the sidebar, or you can access it full screen within Google Calendar. But I use the app on my phone all the time. It's like my brain dump whenever I think of things that I need to do. So in order to create a recurring task, just click the plus sign, type in the task. So for example, send weekly email. From there, you can set it to be recurring by clicking the little clock icon. You can choose a date. So for example, I need Friday. And then you can even set a time. So maybe it's like, hey, I wanna have it scheduled no later than, we'll say 12 p.m. So I can set that time. Then you can choose does not repeat, and you can select how frequently you want it to occur. So every week on Friday, click done. Now, because I am adding this to my list now, even though it's not Friday, it's gonna be there. Once I check it off for the first time, it will not show up again until the following Friday. So once I click this on Friday and it disappears, it's not gonna show up again on my list until Friday. And I love, that way my list kind of stays clear, but things will pop up day to day when I need to do them. But that's where I'm at right now. Everything is still a work in progress. However, I feel like from week 1 to week 2, I've made a lot of positive changes. I'm settling into a routine, and I feel like, fingers crossed, that I'm falling into a very sustainable routine. Not that last year wasn't sustainable. I definitely felt like my balance was good for the most part, but obviously it can always be improved. And so we're just making those little incremental shifts to make things a little bit better. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Send some good vibes my way so that hopefully I'm a little more articulate in my next video and my brain is not struggling so much. But as always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and I will catch you in the next one.